so much for showing up, guys. We really appreciate being here on time. ነርና ብዙሕና ነመስግነኩም ኣብ ሰዓትኩም ምምፃእኩም ካብዚ ብምቕፃል ኣቀዲምና ኣብ ዕድሜና ኣኽቢርኩም ኣብ ሰዓትኩም ምምፃእኩም ናይ ዝተኻፈልቲ ወቢናር ምዃንኩም ከየመስገንኩም ክሓልፍ ኣይደልን ከምቲ ኩልና ንፈልጦ መቸም ነብሲ ወከፍና ዓመት ክትመፅእ ኩሉ ግዜ ታክስ ፋይል ክንገብር ኣለና ኣይኮነን ድዩ ዝመፅእ ዘሎ ወርሒ ከዓ ያው ታክስ ወይ ድማ ግብሪ ንኸፍለሉ ወርሒ እዩ ኣብዚ ሓለፈ ከባቢ 2-3 ወርሒ ብዘይ ምግናን ሓደ ቁሩብ ሰባት ታክስ ዝገብር ዶ ትፈልጥ ትኾኒ ሰብ ምናልባት ድኾን ብዛዕባ ታክስ ሰሚናር ወቢናር ተገበርኩም ዶ ፅቡቅ ነይሩ ኢሎም ዶ መኽረኒ ሰባት ነይሮም እሞኒ በቃ ብዙሕ ካብ ከይከድና ከለና ያው ኣብዚ ኣብ ታምፓ ህርኩት ዝኾነ ሰራሕተኛ ፃዕራም ዝኾነ ታክስ ኣካውንታንት ዮናታን ድራር ዝበሃል ረኺብና ኣለና ዓዲምና ኣለና ብሎም ዓንቲ ዮናታን ብክብሪ ናብዚ ወቢናር ዓዲምና ኣለና ሞ ኣብ ግዜኻ ምምፃእካ ብጣዕሚ ኢና ነመስግን ዮናታን thank you so much for to have you here. It was nice meeting you and thank you so much for joining us. And before we dive right into our presentation, would you please introduce yourself to us? Who's Yonatan and a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Well, I want to say thank you so much for the invitation. This is always great to have a community, reach out to another individual who's in a community. And it's definitely my honor to be here with you guys. So, especially to take your time from, a nice weekend to be able to spend and allow me to be able to consult with you guys. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, so Shumay is Yonatan Drar. I've been a resident of Florida since 1996. Me and my family, we migrated from Addis. Some of you guys might know me and my family. And some of you don't, but hopefully we'll be able to get to know each other going forward. So I'm married. I got married 4 years ago. And we have 2 children. We have Adan, he's 1 year and a half. And then we have Ayana, who's going to be 3-year-old next week. So we're excited about that. And I, will show you my picture in the next slide. But so, to talk again, tax is a very important topic, Nicole Hana, because it affects all of us. And one thing, of course, one thing guarantee is tax and death, right? So since we can't dodge death, at least tax, there's rules and guidelines the government has passed for us to take advantage of, be able to be in a different tax bracket to help ourselves, help our family. So my expertise, I've been in the financial industry for over 6 years. Over 15 years for different bankings, but in the tax wise, I've been heavily involved for the last 6 years. And the last couple of years, I've taken my time and effort to be able to get certified directly with IRS. So I am an IRS certified tax preparer, as well as a tax consultant. I'm fully authorized tax transmitter as well. So the same credential like large companies has, like H&R Block or any tax credential, I have that as well. So just like an accountant and a CPA, I'm able to represent individuals in front of IRS to talk about tax audits. So that is my background in taxes. And I'm here today to talk about a few things that important tax matters, especially 2020 has been such an unprecedented year for all of us with the pandemic and with a lot of new tax rules the government has passed, including, stimulus, which is a main topic lately. A lot of people got affected with income, so unemployment was a major thing. Tax bracket, because of inflation and all that has been changed. So more than any time, I feel like 2020 is a very important tax year for all of us. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about a few things that's changed because we have the basic, of course, always tax, and the basics are, how should I file my taxes? What should be my filing status? What are my deduction? What are my credits? Do I get credit for, paying childcare expense? Do I get credit for, for example, if I do investment in stocks, do I have any benefit of that? Or what is my taxation bracket when it comes to my capital gain, short term and long term? So those are a few things that I'm going to talk about today. And I do want to make it like an open dialogue, since we are all family and friends in here. So at any moment, and had a question, please ask me. You can pose me anytime and ask me. I'll be happy to respond. I have, a great Orlando team who is able to assist me with going through some of the slides in here. So if you need for us to go back or move forward, I'll be happy to definitely accommodate. So with that being said, thank you again for initially, Sunny, for reaching out to me, and I really appreciate you. And also the rest of our team was quite very nice and being able to allow me to come in and be able to be myself. And the focus is help our community and be able to reach out. So with that being said, a few things I want to kind of talk about again are the new changes, new rules that happened. The rules because of the pandemic that we all experienced. And so what I want to do is, let me start with the basic, actually. The basic meaning, like, what is the very first thing, what we need to do as far as taxes. We all know we have to pay taxes. We all know how to, we have to arrange our income to align, to put us in a good tax bracket to make it easy for us. So the first thing I would say important is like, what should be my filing status? Should I file single, head of household, married filing jointly, or married filing separately? Because they all have different tax brackets and they all have different benefits. Now, if you are married, there's always an assumption that the best type of filing status is married filing jointly. Because when it comes to your standard deduction, which is the standard deduction, what the government gives you as a bracket of taxes that will automatically deduct from your adjusted gross income to lower your income to be in a bracket where you can lower your income. So that's currently this year, 24,800. So what that means is that any income that you made, you could automatically deduct the 24,800 because that's what the government allow you. For example, there's an option called itemized deduction. This is where you itemize your deduction, Malita. Instead of giving what the government gives you, we will be able to use our own deduction for different kind of deduction that you have. Like, let's say you give charity, you give a vehicle to like nonprofit organization, different things like that. You could use that, or you have like a home office, you have self-employment expenses. So if that deduction is higher than the standard deduction what the government gives, it is always recommended to use that. So for knowing what's the best filing status is the beginning. That's the first step. Once you know which tax status will benefit you the most, then you can move on to you selecting that and aligning your taxes or the deduction and the credits, either standard deduction or itemized deduction, to be able to file the taxes. So current year, again, the standard deduction is always adjusted by inflation. As I said, if you file jointly, married a couple, it's 24,800. Head of household is the next filing status. That will be 18,650, and single is at 12,400. So as you can see, it's always, if you are married, you want to choose with the higher standard deduction, because that puts you in a lower tax bracket in relation to the all adjusted gross income, right? So that's the first step. And with that comes, as far as dependents, because some of us have children, and you pay for daycare expense, for example. Like some I ask, is what I pay for daycare deductible? Do I get any credit? Answer absolutely yes, it is. And so the child tax credits is, so these different credits are tools that the government created for us to utilize the rules to minimize our taxes, right? Minimize how much we have to pay taxes. So for example, if you have a child, you get $2,000 tax maximum amount of child tax credit per qualifying child. And if your dependent is not a minor, and they're not under the age of 16, you also get credit of $500. I know, for example, in our community, we have a family member that stay with us. We have like parents that live with us. So you are able to use them as a dependent of yours, even though you don't get as much credit that you would as if you have a child, but still does give you some sort of credit. So you want to make sure you utilize all your options when it comes to dependents. So, and then also, some of us have children who are now off to college, or some have some educational expenses. I'm sorry about the educational expenses. So can we get how can that be utilized to help you with taxes? So also, when I say educational expenses, let me say it's not only just about your children as well. If you invest money in yourself to learn new things, right? To have a newer, learn new any education that could help you benefit your resources to help you with the job. If you pay that out of pocket, with the new guideline that they have, it's called Student Continuing Education, AOTC, it's called. You can get up to $2,500 tax credit break, because it's good, and that could apply for any tuition that you might have paid or any course materials pertaining to the course. So all this different deduction that I'm talking about could be added all together. It's just not only one that could only apply to you. So when you have a consultation with your tax advisor, or you yourself when you do taxes, the best question to ask is, what are all my available deduction and credits? Is that the right question to ask? Because, and they will do, hopefully your preparer or your tax consultant or your accountant would extend themselves, okay, they will do an interview session with you, okay, ask you different questions. Do you have children? Do they go to school? Do you pay out of pocket? So those are things that you want to have a consultation with the tax, with the tax guy or a woman, to be able to make sure you take advantage of all the tax benefits, right? So now the main thing that I want to kind of focus on this year is the changes, because as we mentioned, 2020 was such a chaos year for a lot of us, and the government tried to help out people in different ways. One of the things that they did was the stimulus checks. They passed the stimulus checks, and a lot of people are confused. Okay, if I did not have any taxable income, am I supposed to receive that? Or if I didn't get my tax return, if I didn't get my stimulus return check, what do I do? How do I get it? If you try to get on the phone and call IRS nowadays, you'll be on the phone all day. So because everyone is trying to do the same thing. So what I would advise with that is first knowing what he's supposed to receive, right? So the first round of stimulus check was $1,200 for each individual and $500 for dependents. And then the second round they did as well was $600 for individuals and $600 for dependents. Now, this is non-taxable income the government is giving. So you don't have to worry about paying taxes or worrying and say, okay, am I supposed to, pay taxes on that? So you should definitely feel confident that it's a non-taxable income. If you did not get the stimulus check, you will get that as a tax rebate when you file your taxes. So, if you have individuals or yourself, if you have not received the stimulus check, when you do your taxes for 2020, there's a section in there that asks you, did you receive your stimulus check? So there's a section in there you could indicate that you did not. And it's good to know like when you receive the check and how much. You could always refer back to, depending on how you receive the stimulus check. If it's a check that's deposited to your account, you can verify that, because most softwares, they ask you specifically how much did you receive. So if you put that number, they would align that with your number of dependents, and they will be able to determine if it's due. And if you are supposed to receive your return, your stimulus, they will add that into your 2020 tax refund. And also this is non-taxable, so regardless of situation you might have when you tax, if you owe any back taxes, if you have any, we all have different situations, like maybe child support or any student loan, whatever, like you don't have to worry about that, because that's a money that actually you get. So everyone is entitled to it, including, individuals who doesn't have a home, prisoners, and all of them. So it's definitely a beneficial, they part of boosting the economy. That's what the government did. So everyone's entitled to it. But you just have to make sure that you have to reach out, because if you don't reach out to IRS in different ways, or by filing your return saying that I didn't get it, they're not going to reach out to you and say, hey, here we go. At some point, maybe in the future, they might hit you again. You have to be the one proactively reach out to directly to the IRS and notify them that you didn't receive that. And unemployment is another big deal that happened in last year, and it still is going right now. And by the way, before I jump onto unemployment, stimulus check, there's still a talk right now in Washington about a third stimulus check that's going to be affecting us. I think they're close to making a decision, but we have to wait and see what the outcome is.
Here.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Let me make him see.
No, you can do it here.
Okay, all right. So that's the news to come out in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. When it comes to taxes, until the president sign it, it's not a rule, right? So we just have to, of course, the media will talk about it, and they will, until our head blow up, they just give us all the limited information they know. So the only time confidently you could say that it is a go is when the president signed it. So we'll see how that unfolds. The talk is that now let me jump to unemployment with that. Right? Unemployment has been declared as a taxable income. So if you are not working, you are getting unemployment, and if you did not pay tax from what you receive, if you did not elect to pay taxes, but you have to pay taxes. But the new stimulus package the president is passing, and the House and the Senate is kind of going back and forth, is how much of that should we make it a non-taxable income? So that is on the work. So we are anticipating to get updates with that in a couple of weeks. And that would change a lot of things, because if you already filed your taxes and you were told, okay, you have to pay, for example, on unemployment that you collected. So IRS now has to implement a new way and saying, okay, this is the changes. And they will communicate to us, the tax professionals, saying, okay, go back and do what's called an amendment return, or, send out a new form. So when I say this tax year is going to be such a chaos, that's part of those things where, as we are in tax season, there's a lot of new rules that's coming, including those changes that happened in 2020. So before I go any further, do you guys have any questions about what I've said so far? Anyone? Okay. So if you do, please feel free to ask away. And you can talk about I'm speaking a lot of English. Tigrinya is it's not the best. If you have any question, you could ask me in Tigrinya, and I will do my best to reply to you in Tigrinya. The next thing is, since we're talking about what is it that I could do for myself to minimize my taxes. So the other thing I want to talk about is business tax, right? Benefit of being a business owner. I think, a lot of us in our communities, maybe we feel safe having that savings account just sitting there, which is, I agree to a certain extent that you definitely want to have your emergency savings. It is important to have that. But once you have meet your goals, maybe this might require for you to consult with a financial advisor. Okay, what is it that I need? Usually they recommend up to have 6 months of your all expenses in your emergency fund. Once you have that, the money just sitting in your bank accounts is not really doing so much of benefit to you, because you get such a small amount of gain interest, right? Especially where the interest rate is so low. So how to utilize that to be able to benefit yourself? So for example, benefit of being a tax owner, right? The tax bracket, you get automatically 20% tax break, and you can incorporate that along with the other income. And that's the best kind of tax bracket that you could be in. Now it must be a qualified business, and now when we ask what's a qualified business, it could be sole proprietorship, partnership, S corp, LLCs, and you don't have to have a license or corporated. It could be goods exchange or service that you provide for money, and the benefit is actually quite more. It's more than what I just mentioned. For example, you could file your home office, right? Home office, you could get tax deductible. How much of space are you using within a home to conduct your business? You go to the extent of, okay, some expenses where, what are you spending to be able to support your business? So again, the goal of all these different taxes or different deductions is to be able to lower your tax bracket, so you pay less as a tax, or that could also help you in boosting up your refund, right? So the goal is always to use the rules that are not quite known to a lot of people to benefit ourselves and benefiting the tax. So think about the business tax option. That's quite beneficial, even if you don't think what it could be a hobby that you have, right? And you want to start with the exchange of goods business, and then you could capitalize to eventually to monetary business. But it's not as complicated as a lot of people might think to be able to initiate your business. It's quite simple actually, but the overall benefits, both in one way is that you get the tax benefit, and the other way is by starting your business. Who knows that you're going to be able to make more money, be able to achieve different things that you wanted to achieve, right? So that's another topic that you all should think about, and as far as that's concerned for self-employment. And for some people, what happened is that once you have met your tax goals, or once you met your saving goals, you jump onto, let me invest, right? Some people might be concerned or maybe a bit scared on investing in a higher risk businesses or ventures. So they might start like a Robinhood account, right? Playing with stocks or any kind of ETFs, just to be able to have extra money. And what that results in is capital gain. Capital gain is any business that any venture that you've started using, for example, like I said, the Robinhoods or the stocks, or it could be, there's so many different ways stocks could be played, but there's different outlets. If you have a short-term gain or long-term gain, that could also be beneficial to you, right? Because say if you have self-employment and on top of that you have self-gain or of capital gain or short or long-term, if you make up to $40,000, it's non-taxable, which is great, right? Because that goes along with being able to get a 20% tax break from a self-employment. If you have a capital gain, your income up to $40,000 is non-taxable. Now, once you are in a larger income scale, once you go above 40,000 up to 441,000, you pay 15% taxation. Above 441,500, it goes up to 20% taxation, right? And as you, for example, gain more money using your capital gain or using investment, that's when you start further thinking about, okay, which type classification of business would benefit me, right? Should I incorporate? Should I, just do LLC? So there's so many different things that you have to think about. But the very first step is getting into it and knowing all your possibility options that you have. Let's see. Another way you could minimize your income to be able to be in the right tax bracket is retirement, right? The retirement, we have the 401ks, 403bs, and 457s. This is another way that you could also utilize the guideline of IRS and being able to minimize your taxable income, because they will allow you to put up to $19,500 of your income pre-tax into the retirement account. So again, the end goal being lowering your tax bracket, right? And that will allow you to do that. Of course, then we get into when can I take it out, and then should I take it out, and how much taxation will I incur if I take it out? So those are the things that, of course, come later on as you involve more in that. But I guess what I'm doing right now is just a general overview of like your credits and deductions available to help you lower your taxes. Another thing that happened, this one actually more so associated with the new tax change focused on the pandemic, is what's called the earned income credit tax, right? This is earned income credit is simply it's a form of credit the government gives for lower income individuals, right? Once you are within a certain income level, you can take advantage of earned income credits, and that would also is another tool to be used to lower your tax bracket. So in 2020, if you experience a lower income than you did back in 2019, the government will allow you to utilize the 2019 earned income credits. And that's actually helping quite a lot of people, especially those who are affected by the loss of job and collecting unemployment. Using the new guideline, you'll be able to go back to the previous year earned income credit to lower your taxable income. And at this point, let me pause and see if anyone has any questions. Yeah, okay, and if anyone is shy from talking, you could text us, you could type it, and we'll be more than welcome to address that as well.
Yonatan, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The business that you mentioned, there could be a bogus business, right? That doesn't make any revenue or that doesn't do anything. And there could be authentic business that's established primarily for that purpose. So for taxation purpose, how does the government know whether the business is bogus or authentic? If I am, for example, an employed person I could say that I have a business. If I understood you correctly, you said I don't have to have a license to call it business. And if I don't have to have a license, then how does the government distinguish whether I am an authentic business owner or I'm just doing it for the sake of reducing my taxable income? Because I am employed, I could say I have a business, but that business does not generate any revenue. Simply always kind of reports a loss, which will of course reduce my other income, and ultimately I will pay less tax. So how does the government know whether it's real or?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, I think, me, for example, as a tax consultant, ethics is very important initially before anything, right? Because I think using the rules and the guidelines set out by the government, we are able to still be able to take advantage of all the tax deductions and credits that we have. So when I say maybe you don't need a license or you don't have to be incorporated or anything like that, you still to protect yourself, because there could be some auditing that happen, right? And when that happens, you want to be ready. If you claim saying that I spend so much money and say starting this particular business, and I have this much money for that I spent for advertisement. So the expectation from me as a tax consultant, as well as the IRS, is that you would have some sort of record, right? You could be your banking transactions. You need to have some sort of, support system in case you get audited and they'll come back to you. Now, your IRS have 3 years rule. Like, so if you file your taxes and saying that I have a business and you don't get audited, right? If it happens 3 years back to back to back, you could definitely 100% expect some sort of communication saying, okay, you're still practicing this business. It's been 3 years. You're not making any kind of profit. And they will dig deep in to find out, is this really a legit business? What proof does this individual have to say that he or she is practicing a business? So hopefully that answered the question, right? So I think the first part is, this should be done with ethically practicing, because, that's the first important thing. And then me as a preparer, as a consultant, I always communicate. If somebody comes to me and say, hey, I have started like a business of cutting grass around the neighborhood, but I don't have anything to show you to show that I have the business or have the expenses. Me personally, I'll tell them, I'm sorry, I can't help you, right? Because it is also my business that's on a risk. I'm putting in a risk because I have also a requirement by the IRS that I have to meet certain guidelines saying that, okay, as a consultant and as a tax preparer, I have to see some sort of proof, or things has to make sense to me. It's just because I have individuals sign saying that I have this is not quite enough, right? And again, some businesses, some tax businesses, they might say, okay, I'll take you, whatever, right? Because they worry about so much of the numbers or the population or the bodies they might have in their office. So it is really up to the tax preparer, as well as you as an individual. You'll be more cautious of that. So the end result is always thinking that, what if I get audited? That's what you have to think about.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean, that was so much answer, but I'm sorry, but I had to. This is a conversation that I have with my clients all the time, right? Saying that, hey, I have this business. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I could take that, but what proof do you have? And then they start creating numbers. I'm like, no, that's not the type of business that I want to create, right? There's so many things that I could do, being honestly and all that. So yeah, so sorry for that long elaborated answer.
No, that's okay. That's a very good answer, actually. My question was partly, it came to my mind partly because you said you don't need to have a license to have a business. And I always thought that you need to have a license to be a business owner.
Right.
So that's what originated my...
Very, very good, yeah, because that definitely, when I say that, it does trigger, okay, if I don't have any license, what proof do they have? It makes sense. So there's a thing it's called, like, I have cash, business is practiced with cash, right? So you could say that. It is seen as, as a business as well. So I definitely see your point when I say, yeah, you don't need a license, but at the same time, how is the government to know that you are really a legit business? So that's when, you say, okay, I'm cash practice business, right? And then just be prepared. And, actually, another thing that brings me to point with this, this year, I do follow the IRS publications that always they come up with or new expectation they will be doing for the particular tax season. There's been such a lot of fraud that happened. And they are saying that in 2020, for tax years of 2020, they will be doing a lot of auditing on self-employment, almost like they say up to 90% of auditing. So I think that's going to be, I'm sure with that, it's going to be a lot of back things that's going to happen, and they will come up with some new rules, because they do that all the time. Every year is a new rule that they throw at us, and we have to kind of like dig deep in and dissect it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That kind of reminds me, I want to talk about something about as far as self-employment. If there's a new thing also, again, mainly because of the pandemic. Say you're self-employed and you experience a sickness with coronavirus. there is a particular form that will allow you to get credit, right? So say if you are not self-employed, your employer will still pay you, even though you are sick, the time that you are quarantined, they will still pay you, because what happened is they'll be able to claim credit from the IRS. Now, if you are self-employed, and if you personally were affected with Corona, or if you have children that were affected or have or follow the CDD guidelines and they stayed home for a few days, you could definitely, there's a new form called 7202, where the government actually gives you credit for self-employees. It's up to like $15,000 actually, that you could take advantage of, and being able to show that, you were not necessarily sure, but like that form will show the IRS that either you or your dependents were affected with coronavirus, or so it's a very slight topic, right? Because if somebody might say, okay, I was following the CDD guidelines, so I decided to keep my kids at home. Does that qualify you to get the credit? Or somebody say, or somebody might say, I feel symptoms of coronavirus and I decided to stay home. Does that qualify you? So they're still dissecting those things, but there is a new thing that they are doing, which gives you credits of up to $15,000 if you are self-employed in relation to coronavirus. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Yeah, and I just saw a message in here. If you could have my phone number, absolutely. I will share my contact information at the end of our meeting. So you'll be able to reach out to me directly. My website address is mysecureTax.com, right? So there's my contact information in there directly, as well as you can send me an email with specific questions that you might have regarding taxes. This year, being that it's a bit different, all things are done virtually, right? So you're able to send me any of your tax documents, including your W-2s or your 1099s, and I'm using a software that allows you to sign all documents on your computer using a mouse to be able to have a touchless experience. But a lot of pretty much knowledge that I have, and as well as my team has, will go into it and review on your taxes. So it's a different and challenging year, but I'm here to help out, especially help out my community that, and because, the same thing that you guys experienced, like, for example, a couple of years ago, my parents living with me for a little bit, right? So it did affect me as far as tax is concerned, right? So like, I feel like we could relate to each other because of our background and how we are able to values of life and all that. So yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
Yes, Yonatan حنت حتى لاتني منالباش cover أنت زي غير كايا ويتسنح كcover تجبر أنت حينك كسبيه خالي مزحجنا كورونا فيروس and سبات كاب جزء سرحو سلازلو كاب جزء من سرحو خان furniture office furniture جل زوس وسايتات كم deduction كنا أتونا خالدينا.
Good question. Yeah, so it depends. If you work for and had a company, and it's a company, they pay you hourly, and the furniture that you purchase or the space they use is not deductible. Only if you are self-employed is where you could take advantage of tax. Now, there's another caveat to it. Plus, you're working for a company, right? You could do both at the same time. And yes, that office space that you use could be used as office space tax deductible. Yeah.
Thanks.
Good question.
Follow-up question, Latin, if you don't mind. Until what happens if you're working part-time and you got affected by COVID and you were out of work for like 3 weeks, which is not paid? እታ ፎርም ዝበልካ ኣገርና ንጥቀመላ ንኽእል ዶ?
So again, part-time to say, hey, okay, and also, are you also self-employed?
No.
Okay, so if you're not self-employed, the understanding is that the company is supposed to pay you, for your time off. But this particular ruling of 7202 is if you are also self-employed on top of working for another company. Now, what this might do for you though is if company refuse to pay you during that time frame, that makes you eligible for unemployment. And you could always go back and revisit that idea. Okay, you reach out to you apply for unemployment, and whatever's due for you during that time frame for 4 weeks, that's definitely something that you should do, because that's money that you're not getting pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, of course. Any other question? أسمعكم I'm saying. Sorry, Untitled. Okay, that's not a question.
Sorry, Yonatan. Muse.
Hey, Musa, how are you?
ناتي حتى بزعبات ناي college kids مش عارلو the stimulus ناي لحلف عمت. They were not able to get it because their claims as dependents on their families. But now that they are in college and they were not able to get the stimulus, how can they get it? One, and number two is what qualifies them to not be able to be dependent on their families and claim their own taxes?
So, do you, as a parent, you pay for your children's tuition or expenses of college? So, if they didn't get that stimulus check, right, they should, right? Even if they did not receive it, they would file the tax return without necessarily having to show any income, taxable income. And once they get in the data saying no, they didn't receive it, then the IRS will be able to provide that return to them, that stimulus to them, if I understand the question right. But also, what's important on this one is, I'm sorry, Musa, go ahead. You had a question before I get into it. Musa, can you hear me? Okay. So I'm not sure if you do, but so what I was saying is, it is definitely everyone is due for it, and especially and what qualifies a student is as long as they are your children and they are. So this one is a bit complex, more situational, like for each mom. For each individual, because you might have a child that's in college and they dorm and they stay in college and you pay for expenses, or it could be a situation where they come to the house while they go to college. That makes them 100% dependent. And there's some situation where they work, and there's some situation that they don't work. So it is a bit of individual situation. But I would say, as far as the stimulus is concerned, and if you do not get them on their behalf, you should definitely have them file a return to make sure that they get it. Did that answer your question? Sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, now I can, of course.
Yeah, how are you? Thank you so much. What you do is very important, very informative. We appreciate it. So my question is, my son is staying home education, but we spend a lot of money for materials, books and stuff like that. And also we pay for tutoring. So can we claim that one?
You say you pay for tutoring. As far as the
online tutoring.
Yeah, of course, you can.
Okay.
Absolutely, that's a deductible you are entitled to. So the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. What I can do for you guys is that if there's a way you could if you want me to send any information pertaining to, because there's a couple of questions about, children that are in college, and as far as being able to receive stimulus or what you could deduct, and if you are able to get credit for the tuition that you pay for. If you guys want to drop maybe a phone number into the chat, what I could do is I could gather, that number and send out information that's particularly that will be beneficial to you pertaining to child education and stimulus and all that. I could definitely do that. Got it, Muse. Thank you.
Yonatan, one more question here.
Yes.
It said there is no tax paid for capital gains up to $40,000 income.
Correct.
How about if you are employed, you have another income, and also you have capital gain of up to 40,000. So let's say you have an income from the other employment of 60,000, and you gain on your capital 40,000. How do you pay the tax? I mean, how do you calculate the tax? Do you include 40,000 of the capital gain with the other income, or you pay taxes only on your salaried portion of income?
Correct. So the capital gain, just to kind of give you a bit of insider, and we have a different form we use just for specific capital gain or loss for that matter. So it doesn't get intertwined with your W-2 income. It'll be separate, right? So the system and us, we calculate the taxes on that 60K income, but if there's a capital gain of up to 40K, we have to report it, but it's per the guidelines, it's non-taxable. So simple to answer is that it will be done in the same schedule, separate schedule, one tax package, but the reason why you'd have to report it is because any income that you receive, you have to report it. But then once they recognize it's a capital gain, they will see how much you made, and they will determine if you need to be taxed on. So if it's up to 40K, we report it, but no tax is paid on that.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Of course.
Jonathan, sorry.
Okay.
Someone just asked me to ask you, what is your experience with IRS?
My experience with IRS?
Right. As far as, I believe they meant as far as if they get audited, like how would you stand up for them, like on their behalf?
Sure,
like,
sure.
How would you communicate, and what is your experience with the IRS? Probably meant that way.
Sure, and that's a good question because, that's important for all tax, filers, right? One of the fear people have is that, okay, what happened if I get audited? And because of the fear, some people might not take advantage of all what's due for them. So in my field right now, what I'm doing is I have a third-party company that I work with that does audit protection. So in an event that something IRS get audits your file, the third-party company is the company that deal with, because they have what's called enrolled agents, which I'm adding that to my credential next tax year season. Until that happens, though, I'm using a third-party company who have enrolled agent that protect you and speak on your behalf with the IRS. So the process, again, the back-end process that works is that there's a very small fee that you pay if you need that audit protection. And that, I think, depending on how complex your return is, it is important to pay that fee, because that gives you sleep at nighttime, right? It gives you confidence knowing that in case something happened, you have a company that will go back for you, including myself, of course, as if you'd like to be the tax preparer, I could support you and I could reach out to those companies and work with them directly on a first-hand basis to make sure that you are protected. So I can't say I have direct experience with audits with IRS, but my experience is working with a third-party company to give you protection. For now, for next year, it will change. It will be me that I'll be facing, because I will have the same credential as attorneys or CPS to be able to represent a client in an event that you get audited. So that's one that works for now.
Thank you. Can I add one question to that?
Sure.
It says, what actions can we take right now to make our business more profitable? Whether we're business owners or individuals filing our taxes, what action can we take knowing that April is coming up, right? What
Yes.
can we do? Where do we start?
Sure. Such a bit of a broad question, because there's so many things you could do depending on what is it that you're doing, right? So let's say you're an individual and you get a W-2 income. First is understanding what kind of credits can I take in advance, right, to be deducted prior to the gross income, right? So let me give myself as an example. Me as a parent, I have what's called HSA account, right? Health savings account. What it is, before I even get my money, I put money towards that account. So I use that for all medical expense purposes. And that money is non-taxable. So at the end of the year, when I get my tax return, it doesn't show how much I contributed. So if I elect to do $7,000 and say my income is $50K, the $7,000 will be deducted. So my income at the end of the year will show as if I received $43,000. There are different things you could do, as we talked about earlier. For example, the retirement. Even creating your own Roth 401k. Roth IRA and retirement accounts. You could do that to help yourself be in a position to lower your taxes. Now, in the beginning, I say it's all situational, because everyone have different goals on what is it they're looking to accomplish. And part of the consultation that I do is I will ask you first, what are you looking to accomplish? What do you think is, like, at the end of the year, what is it that you want to say? Okay, do you want to, be in a lower tax bracket, or do you want to have, establish a business and take advantage of the business tax? So it definitely is situational purposes. But again, part of the service that I do offer is creating a program that would beneficially help you in being able to achieve your tax goals. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Well, until if they do, let me just say this. Okay, I guess there's a question from Mosila. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, not a ምስቲ ናይ በቀዳማይ ተተሓዘ ገለ ሰባት አለው
I'm sorry, أسمعني أنت. I'm sorry.
Hello, ሕጂ ከተሰማዕና?
Go ahead, please.
ማለት ሲቲ ትምህርቲ ጽቡቅ እንዲ ዘሎ ብዙሕ ሓበሬታ ኣለዎ ብዙሕ ኣፍልጦ ኣሎ ግን ኩሉ ሰብ ኣይኮነን ዝሰምዖ ዘሎ ኩሉ ሰብ ኣይኮነን ዝርድኦ ዘሎ ስለዚ ብትግርኛ ክንገብሮ እንተንኽእል ዝበለፀ ነይሩ ምክንያቱ ኣብቲ ዝሓለፈ ዝተገብረ ከምዚ ዓይነት ኣስተምሮታት ኣብ ሰሚናርስ እንታይ ዳ ረሲዖምና ዝበሉ ሰባት ነይሮም ማይ ማለት እዩ
حقيقة. And I think ምናልባት bits again for my part is ናይ ትግርኛ ብጣዕሚ especially because out of the tax diplomacy it gets a bit difficult for me, so I take responsibility for that. Again ምናልባት እንዲህም individuals حتى لهم individual diplomacy, I'll be happy to have the conversation ሓደ ብሓደ ቀስ ኢልና እንዳተዛረብና ካረድኦም ፈትን. That makes sense, or in the head even I take a question like in the question allo home say you could ask me in Tigrinya and I'll be able to respond to you as much as I can, and if not, of course I could always follow up. Gere kunagakum in a simple term. I will try to create a way so we could your question is answered.
Thank you, Musella. كلكم اندحر حتى لكم كوينو raise your hands سموني حسب unmute مسكبرناكم حتىهم feel free بتقرنيا كتحتوا Yonatan, he can understand the bridge of Bulgaria Tigrinya. It's just the shortage on the Wohani Tigrinya start. He can understand completely Tigrinya. So thank you for understanding. Sophia,
all right, Sophie.
Hi, Jonathan. Good to see you. Thank you for this day. I have a question. If you don't own anything from IRS, if you don't do your income tax in April, you have extended day until when?
Well, okay. So Maleta, the question is, if you owe IRS, and how much longer do you have as far as making your payments? Is that the question, or if you don't file your taxes at all? So I will answer both. If you have, so for example, if you have a refund due.
No, if I have refund, sorry, yeah, if I have refund, if I don't apply in April, so I have extended days. So until what month is going to be? Is that October, November?
There's no deadline for that because they're paying your money. The only deadline is if you have to pay them, right? But if you're getting your refund, for sure, if you were getting your refund, and if you feel like you want to wait, it's up to you. They prefer to do it at that time because then it will be a delay whenever you get that because they have bodies in the office to do, specifically the taxes during that time frame. Now this year, I think everyone is to expect a delay. There are individuals still they receive the government stimulus check. So it's going to be a lot of delays. Again, to answer your question, there's no deadline as long as you have a refund coming to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Along with that, let me just add this. For some reason, if you become aware of your new tax benefits that you were not aware of, in tax, you could always go back 3 years to do what's called addendum returns. So if you learn something that you were not aware of that you could do for your individual tax or business tax, you have 3 years. So I figure maybe that kind of goes along with the questions. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good question.
Yonatan حنت لاتني كان 7-0.
All right.
هجي قالنا tax قالت فايل كنقبل كلنا available softwares نتكلم way turbo tax or HR. هجي بنات experience بنات جمجامسي من الواش سبات أبو فايل مسجبرو قرب أنت زي تأمامي نقوله من الواش نباخي مسمو تي experience نات كان خميو ويك أنت أنت مخري محب كنا أنا يحييش ويكا the face to face مستي software أو داريركا قونداش من تيركا.
Yeah, sure. So I want to say, it should be up to your comfort level. If you feel like you have a good understanding of Nabalka, the hadith all guidelines, by all means, you could definitely try to use your TurboTax and H&R Black and all that. One thing I would say is though this, even because I previously tested out myself, the TurboTax and the H&R Blacks. Each step is like give you option to do an additional fee, maybe call it either protection for audit or just when you add a new schedule, right? A new schedule mallet. If you have say capital gain or if you have any childcare credits, that's all it's called different schedule. With the addition of the schedule, the pricing seems to be higher. You might not necessarily understand it because the way the software is designed. So that's something to pay attention because at the end you will say like, oh, wow, okay, all this adding to be $200, and then in relation to that, to me specifically, I try to be ethical, but also putting some work into it. So, but as far as pricing is concerned, I try to be fair. Try to be very fair, especially for communities and friends and families. I think the main takeaway is the knowledge of like, what is it that I could do now? What is it that I could do for previous years, to benefit myself in taxes. So I like to, some people might feel comfortable, let's face-to-face, maybe this time we could do FaceTime to FaceTime, right? Instead of face-to-face because of the pandemic. And if you're especially a few miles away or a city, a state away from me, that's not always easy accessible. So we could do that. I feel confident in the software that I use. It's a software that I had opportunity to test out the last couple of years. And again, we even have like an app where, I can send you a link for an app. You download the app, a very secure app where you take a picture of your W-2 or any tax forms, and you will be able to forward it to me. And you could also use the app to sign for your documents. So that kind of happens like, a paper, face-to-face without having to face-to-face, without having to worry about face mask, right? So you could do that. But I do have the confidence where my pricing is always fair. And also I do the work, so you guys don't have to worry about like the ins and the outs of the tax complex situations. The reason why I took this up and made myself expertise because is I had I'll tell you the main reason. Like I had an opportunity to work with franchisee owners and who are very successful, and I saw the ends like on how they do manipulate the numbers on things that was not unnecessary to charge individuals. So I think ethically it didn't sound right by me. So I'm like, let me get into the business to be able to help out, friends and family. Now it kind of grew from that, but that was my main objective going into business. So as far as fee, I stand by my product. I stand by my knowledge as well. So I know what I know, and I'm able to present that and being able to build confidence in each individual. Good question.
Negasi Paulos, unmute Queen Kalha, and no return the go ahead, use your opportunity. ساعات ندخلنا إنا دلنا towards the end. موني من البعض حطيت لكم. We'll take a couple of questions. كاب حجي. حانتو حتى ما تعطينا لا text. أنت كم بالك يوناتان؟
Oh, please, alright.
How do you like to communicate with your clients, and also how do you bill for your services?
So as far as communication, again, initially the plan was to have a standalone front store, but with being virtually right now, as direct communication by phone. By phone is out of email if it works for you, through the app, through my website. I try to be as much available as I could be to communication. I think the main thing is like people maybe sometimes feel the comfort when you see individual face to face, and I like it. And it makes sense because sometimes just the body language says a lot about individual, right? So like I get it, and if need be, sometimes like if you guys are close by, I'm always willing to be able to meet you and have a coffee and have that discussion, and so it's no problem with me. Like the main target is I'm also establishing my business as I go, so I'm willing to do the legwork to come to you or FaceTime, virtual, so whatever way is available that's beneficial and that we both could agree on, we can make that happen. So that's my way of communication right now. So hopefully next year we would try to open up a store and you guys could come and experience. If you guys are not local, Tampa is a beautiful city. You could always stop by. Maybe I could have a wife make bun for us, and we could talk about tax at the same time.
That sounds amazing. Perhaps maybe opening another branch in Orlando would be amazing too, right?
Well, the goal is always to expand, and then it's always to touch our people and to be able to help one another in so many different sectors that we have. So it's a good start, you know. I mean, I just want to, since we are approaching the end time, I want to say, first of all, thank you for كلكم جزاو سيدكم بتصبروا خلنا كلامك on Saturday. مسيكم the time is in Zarabesi. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And feel free to ask me any question anytime. I'm here. It feels me because I'm a person who believes in direct communication and doing the right thing. I'll do what I can to help out each individual. And of course, I would appreciate it if you come to me to do your taxes, because that's part of the process as well, right? But in return, what I give you is confident that I will do the job right, confident that I will be available, and I'll be very professional in doing the taxes, as I say. So not only that, but even helping you prepare for the next year or the years to come and how to align your taxes properly. And when we speak individually, we could touch up on many things, right? Like, even though I'm not a financial consultant, I do have a good knowledge of, like, I've been in the financial industry for many years. I have good knowledge of, like, what is it that I could do? For example, I'm a parent myself, right? Like, I have 2 young children. I think about, okay, what is it that I need to do now so my kids, when they get to college age, they could have easy road, or for myself as well, instead of having to scrap for money when I get there. There's different college plans that exist out there. So we could build a friendship, and we could build a good business friendship as well, and be able to move on forward. So I want to say.
Did we lose him?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was me.
In the meantime, not to information up to chat room alakum. I think his website is mysecureTax.com, and his number is 813-784-6826. ويكا شمونتا حادة سلسة شوعات شمونتا ربعتا شدشتا شمونتا كلتا شدشتا. But in the chat room alakum من عرباش انت زيريكم وإليه.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. The information share could go over to Alice, but I'm supposed that I'm not. I mean, كلنا فاين مقارنة تفناني tax. Whether sooner or later sick نقبرين أنا جدا نقبر إنا أنا I'm sure كأن كلهم accountant من زخانينا هاي نقبر ما حبشة خمسة مت أنا كله بقى أنا تبغى يو information كذا نادخل أما كتسكفنا فايد نقبر له tax مو save نقبر له كنزة مو نوعه نحجزنا خل ننهرهن عن التحالات زي نخل من قد تراخيهم قلا كنت أمرلو محتاجكم نمبر أقوله أدرس أقوله بزح كيكنا كم حقا either ولا تليفون بزوم ديو مزبلكم متيوم بعلم consultation كبركم خيري زعابي نجار كم يجيركم comfortable كوينكم safe تقبلون تحجزون من قدي إنه كله حجازي لنا نحاسبه نزمت إذا لو رح خاني أما خرنا بزعبا من تاي كونا استخانة متنخل سكاي حجي كل اللي سالنا موني زمت إذا لو ندحر دا حسابا لكم كوينو بزعبا خستايت التمسو خنزارب كنفلت بزح لدينا نكران لو تبلونا نتلو please feel free to contact us ناي ناتي ناي بينيام ويناي راكي تليفون كانت وينا website share كنقبرو please share the website here. Okay. كقبل حجي share I'm sure كيري الله خبلا عليه دونك لهم دعاتهم دحرار لهم كم حجي share كقبل ما بالتعمين أنا مسكنكم كان أخذ قبرون دقائلكم أبزمتكم جزيكم مكفالكم انتي مسكنا أنا عزوزي بالتعمين أنا مسكنكم
احنا عمنا مسكنكم نفعات قتلوا صبغ تخلوا لهم نخيد لنا.
Thank you. مورال كل تهونا لكم متأنا له على تكست ولا مسج تقولنا دويلكم قتلوا تهونا لكم بزينا ذاتكم حاجة زين بتحنا نقندنا بزح من قد هنكيدم تساعدنا. So I guess متاوي كألندر لو مسلني. ዝኾነ ሕተት ኣለኩም ከማነ I guess ክትፅሕፉልና ትኽእሉ ኢኹም via text. Raki or Bini or Danny, can you share your numbers if that's okay? Is he sharing the government telephone number now? Is it the Lord Hibbs? I'm going to take an exam. حسابات تتكافلنا عن المبادئ. مهناتو زي ما لبزي عبي أنفتو زخدو دلون كم يجرناني زخانة إرتراوي أبزر لو عاد خوينو كم يجرو بزعبات زت ليو نجار خديتون تماهيرون خيد انديو لأن هنا ممكن ما هاد كنا فلالت كنا زرارة بنديو so بتي علاموك كشتو هو كعم أنتن تي زت ليكم نجار كنا زرارة زعبي خوين سمعني أجد أسوين سمعني Let's see, I think he's trying to get in again. There you go.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. I'm back.
No, don't worry. We can never rely on technology. We understand.
Yeah. Thanks for understanding. Yeah, I had to kind of jump back in. So I don't know if anyone did ask any questions or not after I left.
No, we were thanking attendees for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so if people are still here, I just want to say, thank you again. Please feel free to reach out to me. Direct phone contact, email, whatever is easy for you. And hopefully you'll be able to have a good chat and see what I can do to help you guys out regarding your tax questions or concerns.
All right. Yeah, Anela. أبزي كنعطينا مدبنا دك أنستيو كلخن قا حقسنا قا حقسكن رحس معلتي دك أنستيو قبلنا. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, definitely. Happy Women's Day. So without you guys, we're nothing. Thank you all, ladies. Appreciate you guys, all of you guys, ladies.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
بروح مشي.